everyone? My name is Jamal McKinney, or you could just call me Juice because that is my nickname. Yes, I'm officially rolling into my official record predictions for all 32 NFL teams, and today we start off with the Arizona Cardinals. And boy, oh boy, am I excited to watch the Arizona Cardinals this past year. They actually were a pretty fun and exciting team that, they struggled at times. They were picking in the top 10. I understand that, but I enjoyed watching the Cardinals play last season. So I'm going to break down their schedule, and I'll give you a record prediction for the Cardinals. I'll, preview their team. I'll tell you the pros and cons of this team, and I will tell you how many games this team is going to win during the 2020 NFL season. So the Arizona Cardinals went 5-10-1 last year. Now, they were picking top 10 in the draft, as I mentioned earlier, but if you actually watched the Cardinals last year, they were better than their record indicated. They played the 49ers tough both times, okay? Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals were more competitive than Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers versus the 49ers. And I would say that the Cardinals had not as good of a team as the Packers last year. Just throwing that out there, okay? And they tied with the Detroit Lions. That was a game that they could have won. They lost to the Ravens by one possession. They lost to the Buccaneers by one possession. They lost to the Steelers by one possession. And versus the Rams in Week 17, they lost by one possession. So this team was a very competitive team last year. And just think, if the Arizona Cardinals were to pull out some of those games in which they lost by one possession, this is a 7-9 to 8-8 football team, in my opinion. Now, I'm higher on the Arizona Cardinals this year than most people are, okay? I really am. I made an episode on the Arizona Cardinals actually yesterday. Be sure to check that out if you haven't checked it out already on the channel. And I believe in Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray showed me a lot of great stuff this past year. I felt that when Kyler Murray was coming out of Oklahoma, I believed in him. I said that he was the best combination of a runner and thrower that the draft had ever seen. That included Michael Vick, that included Cam Newton, and that included Lamar Jackson. That was how big of a high praise I gave Kyler Murray when he was in college. And Kyler Murray inherited the 32nd ranked total offense from a season ago, and he elevated this team. He helped boost the offense up to being the 21st ranked total offense. That was higher than the Cleveland Browns last season. And the Cleveland Browns had a much more talented team and better players than the Cardinals. So Kyler Murray is the real deal. And I'm willing to say that out of the last three drafts, Kyler Murray is the one quarterback that I would take number one overall over all those players. Over Joe Burrow, over Tua Tagovailoa, and even over Lamar Jackson, because I honestly think that Kyler Murray is a more natural thrower of the football than Lamar Jackson. And Kyler Murray has that it factor. I think that Kyler Murray is going to be a better quarterback long-term than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is one of the 5 best quarterbacks in all of football. And I think when it comes to Kyler Murray, this is the year we're going to start looking at Kyler Murray and saying, okay, this guy is the real deal. Let's start our season thinking that we're going to win around 8 to 10 games, because that's kind of my rule right there. If I think you have a great quarterback, I believe that you start around 8 to 10 wins each season on your schedule, because if you have a great elite quarterback, you're going to win a lot of games. And I think that Cliff Kingsbury is somewhat of an underrated young head coach in the NFL. I saw him consistently drawing up plays that put Kyler Murray in a great position to succeed. And I think that Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray are going to start to be one of the up and rising quarterback and coach duos in the NFL. Now, Kyler Murray does have some weapons to throw to, no doubt. You look at Andy Isabella. He did struggle last year, but the guy has 4.3 speed. If you just give the ball in Andy Isabella's hands about 2 to 3 times a game, he can make things happen. Larry Fitzgerald, he's one of the more reliable wide receivers in the NFL despite his old age. Christian Kirk is a very good young slot receiver that showed a lot of promise last year. Hakeem Butler, he got injured, at the start of the season, last year. He did not really get a chance to show us what he could do, but I was very high on Hakeem Butler coming out of Iowa State a year ago. So there's a good player to watch right there. And I think that DeAndre Hopkins is going to do wonders for Kyler Murray and this Arizona Cardinals offense, so much so that this is going to be a top 10 offense easily, in my opinion, this year. Maybe not easily, but I think it's going to be a top 10 offense. What DeAndre Hopkins is going to allow this team to have at their disposal is a wide receiver that wins one-on-one matchups on the outside. A guy that can beat the opposing best quarterback. And he allows the other wide receivers to get open on a more consistent basis because the defense is going to be worried about stopping DeAndre Hopkins. So he elevates the entire roster as far as the offensive side of the football goes. And I think the offensive line for the Cardinals is actually an underrated unit to a certain degree. It did struggle at times last year, but I don't think this offensive line is awful. Marcus Gilbert comes in this year. You drafted Josh Jones out of Houston. That was an excellent move, getting him in the 3rd round, which was an absolute steal. I had him as a late 1st round prospect, and you get him in the 3rd round. That's crazy. And I don't think J.R. Sweezy is terrible. So I think Kyler Murray needs to do a better job of getting the ball out of his hands a little more quickly to help this offensive line out, because I think the offensive line did an okay job at time blocking for Kyler Murray. Sometimes he just held to the ball a little bit too long. It was far from a perfect unit, but this unit is not terrible by any stretch. And not to mention the Cardinals, last year they had a top 10 rushing attack. So I think the passing game is going to be much more improved, much more explosive, and you already had a top 10 running game led by Kenyon Drake. So this team is going to be able to run the football. They're going to be a big play offense. And listen, the biggest question for the Cardinals is, can their defense get stops? I think Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury are going to put up points. But I do think this Cardinals defense is going to be a much improved unit. They were the 32nd ranked total defense last year, but they made a ton of great moves in the offseason to make strides to improve the defense. They really made an emphasis in the offseason to improve their linebacker core. And I've always said, if you have speed in the middle of your defense at linebacker, you're going to be a pretty solid unit from time to time. Isaiah Simmons, that guy's a stud. I believe he's going to provide a Luke Kuechly type impact for this team. He can blitz. He's a great outside linebacker if you want to move him there. He's a great tackler. He has a great football IQ. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. He has great instincts. He's very versatile, and you need players like Isaiah Simmons to chase down Russell Wilson, to cover George Kittle. So I would not be shocked if Isaiah Simmons wins Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. Not to mention, you signed Devontae Campbell from the Atlanta Falcons, who had 129 tackles last year. Devon Kennard from the Detroit Lions is going to be an outside linebacker added to the team. He had 14 sacks the last 2 seasons. Evan Weaver out of Cal, he had 181 tackles this past season at the University of California. So he's a pretty solid player that you got in the 6th round. Not to mention you have Jordan Hicks. So the linebacker core for the Cardinals is not bad. You look at the secondary, Patrick Peterson, Byron Murphy, Budda Baker. Those are 3 pretty solid players. I think that Patrick Peterson is a top 10 cornerback. And I think that Byron Murphy has all the potential in the world, and Budda Baker is an above average player. And the defensive line is very underrated. You look at Chandler Jones. The last 3 seasons, he's got 49 sacks. He's a stud. Jordan Phillips, he had 9.5 sacks last year for the Buffalo Bills. He's added to this team. Not to mention, you had Leaky Foto out of Utah and Rashard Lewis out of LSU at the defensive tackle position. I believe this is going to be a top 10 offense and a defense that is around the middle of the pack. And you don't need to be great on both sides of the football to win a lot of games. The Green Bay Packers last year, they were top 10 in defense, but they were 18th offensively. I kind of see that being the case for the Cardinals. I can see the Cardinals having anywhere from one of the 7 to 10 best offenses in all of football and having a defense ranking around the teens, around like 18, 19, 20. That's pretty much all you need when you have a great offense led by Kyler Murray. And I would not be shocked if Kyler Murray is in the MVP conversation this year, because he has a lot of great weapons to throw to, and we've seen quarterbacks in their 2nd season win MVP or be in the conversation in the past. Carson Wentz nearly won MVP in the 2nd season. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes won MVPs in their 2nd season. And Kyler Murray, he's just as talented as those guys outside of maybe Patrick Mahomes. Now let's get to the actual record prediction. I believe the Arizona Cardinals are going to win 9 games this year. I have the Arizona Cardinals going 9-7 during the 2020-21 season. Okay? I think that this team can actually make the playoffs. I believe they're going to be in the playoff picture. I'm not going to go on a limb and say they're going to make the playoffs officially, because there could be a team that makes a big-time trade. I will do a show dedicated to who's going to make the playoffs, about roughly 2.5 weeks before the season starts, because that's when officially all the moves are going to be made. But as of right now, today, if I had to bet money, I think that there's a great chance that 3 teams in the NFC West make the playoffs this year. And honestly, I think the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs as of right now, today, at the time of the recording of this video. Now, let's dive into the schedule, okay? When we look at the schedule, okay, if the Cardinals are going to make a playoff push, they need to get off to a fast start. And I think they actually can get off to a fast start. Let's look at the first 5 weeks of the season. I think they're going to be favored in 4 of those 5 games. At San Francisco, at the 49ers, that's a very tough game, but the Cardinals played the 49ers very tough last year. The 49ers, they could be in for a Super Bowl hangover because of the way they lost in the Super Bowl last year. So do not be shocked if the Cardinals beat the 49ers in week number 1. You got Washington at home, you got Detroit at home, you're at Carolina, and you're at the Jets the first 5 weeks of the season. Washington has a young quarterback in Dwayne Haskins, who I like personally, but he has a lot to prove. That roster, it still has some holes, okay? They've got a new coaching staff. The Cardinals don't. The Lions, you almost beat the Lions last year. You can beat the Lions at home. At Carolina, you lost to them last year, but Carolina is not the same team from last year. They lost a ton of players on defense and offense, and I'm not sold on Teddy Bridgewater as much as some people. And at the Jets, they're a mess. So I think that the Cardinals actually can go 4-1 in that stretch. Now, at Dallas, that's going to be a key game, because I think that the Arizona Cardinals actually can win that game, because when you look at things, yes, the Dallas Cowboys have a high-powered offense, but that defense is not very good. And if the game is close late, I trust Kyler Murray more than Dak Prescott. Yes, I do. Dak Prescott lost a lot of stripes for me this past year. Now, after your bye week, after you play Miami after the bye week, that should be a win. Okay, right there. You look at some of these games. You look at Buffalo, at Seattle, at New England, the Rams, at the Giants, the Eagles, the 49ers, and at the Rams. I believe in this Cardinals team, but if you're going to make a playoff push, you need to steal all the wins you can the first 8 weeks of the season. That's the easy part of your schedule, because Buffalo, they're a good roster. Seattle, they're a playoff team in my opinion. The Patriots, they just added Cam Newton. The Rams always play you tough, and the 49ers just made the Super Bowl. Not to mention Daniel Jones and the New York Giants are on your schedule, and you get them on the road. So when we look at things, I think the Cardinals overall are going to be an improved defense. I believe in Kyler Murray. I think the schedule late is very hard, but early on, I think they're going to steal a lot of wins. I think the Cardinals are going to be a 9-win team this year. I think best case scenario is 11-5. If Kyler Murray plays at an MVP level and the defense makes the strides I think they can make, this team can win 11 games. Worst case scenario, the offensive line does not play well. Kyler Murray takes a step back. The defense is still the 32nd ranked total defense. Somehow, you only win 7 games. Let's be real. This division is a dogfight. But I think the Cardinals are going to fall somewhere in the middle. They're going to be a 9-7 team this year. I have them battling it out with the Saints, the Buccaneers. I think that in the NFC South, there's going to be 2 playoff teams. So whichever team you want to pick to win that division, you'll be fighting with them with whatever team is going to be trying to get a wild card spot. I look at your own division. It could be 3 playoff teams. I look at the NFC North with the Packers. There's probably only 1 playoff team from that division. I'd probably say it's the Packers. The Vikings, I don't buy them. The Bears, I don't buy them. And Detroit is talented, but can they be trusted? And then we look at the NFC East. That potentially could be a division with 2 playoff teams. But I think the Cardinals have a real chance to sneak into the playoffs with that final 7th seed now that there is an added playoff spot. So in conclusion, I think the Cardinals are going to be pretty good this year. I have them winning 9 games. I will not be shocked if they are a playoff team in 2020. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.